U.S. President Donald Trump has once again doubled down on his criticism of India, calling trade ties with New Delhi a totally one-sided disaster. Now, his remarks come on Monday, shortly after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. Now, in a Truth Social post, Donald Trump claimed India had offered to cut its tariffs to zero, but said the move was too late and should have been done years ago. Now, his comments come amid heightened trade tension, with U.S. imposing as much as 50% tariffs on India, including secondary duties of 25% last month for India purchasing Russian oil, which India has called unfair, unjustified and unreasonable. Trump, meanwhile, accused New Delhi of selling massive amounts of goods to the U.S. while blocking American exports with high tariffs, the highest, he said, of any country. And it's not just Donald Trump, it's also his entire administration which is doubling down on their rhetoric against India, especially in the light of the rise of the Russia-India-China camaraderie, or the RIC bloc, that's shown at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Let's look at what the U.S. administration is going out and saying publicly. Let's begin first with Peter Navarro, who's escalating his attack on India, and he's saying, and I quote, "It is a shame to see Modi getting in bed with Xi Jinping and Putin." Now, this is an exact quote by Peter Navarro, the White House trade advisor. And not just that, he's also saying that he is sure that he's not sure what Modi is thinking, and hopes that he will come around to seeing that India needs to be with the US and not with Russia. That's Peter Navarro for you, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not just Navarro. There is also a sharp criticism coming from Bessent. Mixed cues, one would call it, because at one level, Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, goes on to say that the two great countries, India and U.S., will get their issues resolved. But he also goes on to say that on the SCO specifically, that this is a long-standing meeting and it's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And he thinks that the SCO is largely performative. Now, Scott Bessent has also gone on to say that India is the most populous democracy in the world and its values are much closer to the US than that of China and Russia. And meanwhile, of course, as we told you, Donald Trump has gone out to say and claim on Truth Social that India has offered to cut tariffs to nothing. Now, remember, these remarks come in the wake of India and Russia that vowed to strengthen their strategic ties against the backdrop of New Delhi's frictions with the US, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi telling Russian President Vladimir Putin that the two countries stood shoulder to shoulder even in the most difficult times. Remember, Modi and Putin met on the sidelines of the annual summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization just days after the U.S. doubled tariffs on Indian goods to a whopping 50%, including a 25% additional duties for India purchasing Russian crude oil. Now, in his televised opening remarks at the meeting, Prime Minister Modi told the Russian president that 140 crore Indians are eagerly waiting to welcome Putin in India in the month of December. Now, before the official talks, the two leaders held an informal conversation as they traveled to the venue on their bilateral meeting in the same car after concluding engagements at the SCO summit. Now, the Russian president waited for about 10 minutes for Prime Minister Modi to join him before boarding the car. Now, Modi and Putin spent another 45 minutes in the car even after reaching the venue, and this as per people familiar with the matter. In his remarks, Putin said Russia and India have maintained special, friendly and trust-based relations for decades, and it is the foundation for the future development of the ties. Now, the relations between New Delhi and Washington, remember, are on a downturn after Trump slapped a 50% tariff on India. The strain in the relations has been exacerbated by constant criticism of New Delhi by officials in Trump's administration.